hear me? There we go. It's finally working. Yeah, I'm so glad you can make it. The first thing I really ask is just, where are you calling from?
Texas.
Fullerton.
From Czechia,
Seattle.
Arkansas,
Vancouver, BC.
Louisiana.
And wherever you're tuning in from, welcome to Milking Ardor. If you're new here, hi. My name is Spencer Chan, and this is my podcast, Milking Ardor. On this podcast, we hear all sorts of stories from people from around the world. We hear people's life lessons that they've learned, the experiences they face, and the passions they are pursuing. If this sounds interesting to you at all, please help me spread the word, because Milking Ardor is primarily word of mouth advertisement. So if you could help me get the word out, I would love that a lot. On this week's episode of Milking Ardor, we are going to hear from Nick, who tells the story, or rather the narration of living life full of joy. Then Skandra about the community she has made and had just rising different artists up. And Joseph on initiation, first steps. So before we hear from Nick, our first guest, I'm going to cue sponsorship, then we'll go right into it. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm in Texas.
Right on. How is it in Texas?
It was hot, but now it's starting to cool down, so it's great.
Yeah, right on. And what's the elevator pitch of yourself, Nick?
The elevator pitch?
Yeah, give me a rundown of who you are.
I'm a goofy clown. I'm over 40. I like to make people laugh and smile. I just like to make sure that everyone feels good around me.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have to have people have a positive mood around you, or what's the drive behind trying to make people smile?
Well, I've always felt that you surround yourself with positive people, and then you in turn will have positive vibes.
Yeah, right on. Is that something you grew up hearing and you kind of learned from someone else, or did you kind of have your own phase where you're just kind of in the slumps and you really need people to just bring you up, those around you?
Yeah, it was a learning process, actually, because growing up, I didn't really have a lot of positivity around me, because I was kind of like the strange-looking kid, and, so I was the victim of, being bullied a lot, so it transformed into something of a introvert, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I kind of shied away from people, but then I started making changes because I like being around people. So
yeah. What type of changes did you make for you to be able to interact with others?
Number one was my attitude towards people, and I just started to tear down the walls that I put up.
Yeah, just kind of before, what were the walls? What was kind of the reasons for you having these walls in the first place?
Honestly, it was probably a lot to do with self-confidence, because growing up during my teenage years, I had very, very bad acne problems, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was really just self-confidence.
Yeah. And then once you kind of shifted your attitude, what were the changes you're seeing?
I started gaining more friends. I started being more, successful.
Yeah.
Just all kinds of positive changes.
That's really great to hear, Nick.
Thank you, Spencer.
Yeah, and then now you're kind of having this online presence where you're just kind of shining light to the people who watch your stuff. How'd you get into that, and what's that about?
Honestly, I don't know. It just kind of happened. It started with my wife telling me, hey, your daughter is on TikTok, get her off of it. It's bad. And so I started doing this little discovery, and I'm like, honey, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty funny. And next thing you know, I was an account holder.
What do your kids think about you having this pretty large following?
Well, my daughter, my oldest daughter that got me into it is pretty shocked Um, I don't want to say there's jealousy involved because I think she's proud of what I've gained,
Yeah,
but she's just trying to figure out how I surpassed her.
I hear you. I hear you. It's definitely interesting when I think you really want something and then the people around you gets it instead first. I think that's kind of what's happening with you and your daughter, where it might seem like your daughter might have won a little bit of popularity, and then here you are coming in, and it seems like you weren't even trying, and bam, you got a large following.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on. I mean, besides just TikTok and having this online presence, what is there about you besides that?
Well, let's see. I like to sing. I like to dance. I'm not very good at it, but I like to do it. Um, I enjoy comedy. I love hanging out with the family. I love fishing. Um, what else? I love to eat.
Yeah.
Who doesn't, right? But I love trying new things. I'm adventurous. I'm spontaneous. Um, you name it. I'm that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will try just about everything.
Yeah, and then would that kind of go back to your introversion days where you felt possibly that you kind of had to limit yourself, and now you're just kind of exploring everything that you possibly can?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it
Right
is.
on. I mean, like, what are some adventures you've had, or just kind of some crazy things you've realized?
Um, adventures. Well, let's see. In the last year, before all this COVID happened, I traveled all the way around the country driving from San Jose, California, all the way around
Wow.
to and back to Seattle. So, and I got to see every big city in
Yeah,
between.
what was that about? How'd that go on about?
I was actually with a job I was working,
Okay.
so it required a lot of road time and a lot of exploring. So basically, I got paid to just drive around, you know. So, and I think the I think the most awesome experience for me was traveling between Washington D.C. and New York City.
Why is that? Why would you say that's the highlight?
Because you know, getting to be standing right in front of the White House, you know, Capitol Hill, the monuments, all those historical, landmarks, and then all the people, and then going to New York City and seeing the actual street traffic and driving on those
Yeah.
roads. You know, I mean, not a lot of people from Texas get to experience that, and I got to.
Yeah, I mean, when you're younger, were you able to like travel anywhere, or is this really kind of just last year?
Oh yeah, I've been all over the world with my dad. He was in the military, so we spent 12 years in Germany, and so we grew up there pretty much between here and Texas. I mean, there in Texas. But during my time in Germany, I got to experience London, Paris, you know, and this
Yeah.
is all before I got out of high school.
Wow. And how would you say that these international experiences that you've had at a young age really affects who you are now?
It truly does because you get to experience other cultures, and then that way when you're around, you know, different people growing up, you can adjust better.
Yeah.
So I think it's beneficial for people to travel if they have the ability to do so, because I think it makes you a more, what's the word? You got a more broad interpretation of how to speak to someone, how to
Absolutely.
handle different situations.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to say. So you're saying that like being able to experience these international cultures really builds a sense of empathy in other people, for people could really
Oh, absolutely.
understand each
Oh
other.
yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, Nick.
Thank you.
Right on. I know this is like a really short call that we're having, but just to close, Nick, do you have any last minute thoughts or anything you want to shout out?
Well, number one, a shout out to whoever this fan that was, that recommended me. I mean, it really caught me by surprise and shock, and I was actually really flattered, as you can tell from my live.
Yeah.
Um, it was unreal, and I appreciate everything that everybody brings to the table, in this TikTok adventure. It's brought great joy to my life, and you just sitting here taking the time to talk to me, to find out about me.
No,
It's
thank
amazing.
you.
I'm truly blessed. I really feel happy about
Yeah,
this.
I think with all content creators, when you're really starting out, it's one thing to really just see the numbers and really expect the numbers to go up, but at the same time, it's just so surreal when someone reaches out to you and just says like, "Hey, thank you so much for the content you make," and it's just amazing. So I'm really glad that this fan pointed me out in your direction, because not only do you have a sense of wow, people are actually liking the stuff I like, but I'm really glad to just really talk to you and hear a little bit about your life, Nick.
Well, thank you, Spencer. I appreciate it.
Right on. I mean, do you have any last closing words you want to say to anyone listening in?
Um, I think people, if they hear this, will get a kick out of this. But I love turtles.
Perfect. All right, Nick. I'll keep you posted for what is to come, and until then, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Spencer. Take care. All right, appreciate it.
Thank you so much for just taking the time out of the day to chat with me. Do you go by Alexandra or do you go by Skandra? What do you go by?
It really depends how you're interviewing me. If you're interviewing me about my entire life, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I guess if you found me through Skandra, it's Skandra, and that's totally fine.
Skandra. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, so you've been submerged into music your whole life. Where did it
Yeah.
start for you?
Let's see. I would say, well, I did piano lessons when I was a kid, but I didn't really know why I was doing them. And then when I was about 12 years old, after being classically trained for many years, I had a piano teacher who asked me if I wanted to learn how to write songs. And so he taught me the basics of songwriting, generic, rock progressions and stuff. And from that day on, I started writing my own songs.
Right on. Did you like perform these songs, or did you have a place where you'd put your songs, or is it just for yourself?
When I wrote my first song, I actually started my first band about like a week, or I think it was a week later. And I had friends who were, musicians, and they were okay at their instruments. And then I had these other friends who had already had a band. They were looking for a keyboardist, and I fit the bill. And so I think by the age of 12, I was playing venues on Sunset Strip in Hollywood. And
Wow.
that was my first experience in a band. And then, I mean, I'm not going to give you the whole story here because that's going to take a while. But yeah, I would say, I mean, I've been playing shows and in bands since I was 12, and they were legitimate shows. We had hundreds of kids there, and we were, we were the cool garage band.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Did you think
Yeah.
you'd get to where you are now after so many years?
Yeah, I would say yes, but I would say yes in a very hopeful and delusional sense. I've always been this way. I never give up on anything that I love doing, and I never look at failures or lack of success as anything bad. I look at it as step towards the end goal. So honestly, this little outburst of success or whatever you would call it. It's just it's a baby step in the grand scheme of things, and I think that it's not really
Mm-hmm.
gotten to my head at all because I go, all right, well, I've been doing this for so long, and I've worked so hard to um, not only create art but to give back to art, and I think the intermix of
Mm-hmm.
those two things, um, it's just how the world works, you know, and if you work hard enough and you persist hard enough, you will accomplish getting an acknowledgement for that in some way, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of how I see it. And it's exciting, but it's not even where, you know, it's not even the end goal. It's the beginning of the adventure.
Yeah, and I saw you built this lovely and just beautiful community about 5 years ago, which you call Treehouse.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, Treehouse, I lived in this guest house in Los Feliz, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with Los Angeles, but it's this woodsy national park
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of area next to Hollywood. Um, and so I had this, my friend lived in the main house and she let me rent the guest house from her for 5 years. And most of the people who lived in this house were artists. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I just had this, I always tell the story slightly differently, but it's always the same concept, which is I had this friend who texted me or messaged me about her new film or her new album, or I forget what exactly it was. And I found myself having no interest in clicking the link or indulging myself in it. And I found that really disturbing because I really love art and I'm an artist. And if I were to send someone a
Mm-hmm.
link to something new that I made, I would hope that they were interested in looking at it or listening. And I realized that there was just no sense of community, and there was no sense of like uh, brotherhood, I guess, amongst artists in LA. There was no commodity, and like there was no place to really just throw art and know that it's going to be appreciated. I think that's really what it was. It's like there's the
Mm.
internet, but the internet is flooded with people self-promoting. Um,
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I want people to come over to my house and basically self-promote to me in person. And so I invited a few friends and a few artists, and we had like 20 people, I think, at the first one. And then people loved it so much we did it again. And by like the third month, there was 100 to 200 people stuffed in my living room. And the nickname for that guest house was the tree house. It looked like a vine-covered tree house. So yeah, so then it became a pop-up and it became an event and it became a festival, it became a community, and it's been growing for 5 years. It's free. It's always free. It's always the same as the first event. It's free to perform, free to attend. It's always out of the love of my heart and my love for art. And it's a beautiful little thing.
Yeah. And what I really love about that is how you mentioned the price is free. You're not really trying to make profit out of this or try to become a sellout almost by just trying to reaching the ladder. How come you decided everything to be free? Sure, you could truly appreciate art, but sometimes people do it at a cost.
Absolutely. And I think that they should. I think that most of the time, um, art art should be paid for, and I think that's a fair exchange,
Mm-hmm.
because we see so many musicians now who barely get paid. They get paid a third a third of a cent per stream or something. I don't even remember what it is, but
Mm.
it's an insanely low amount.
Yeah, yeah.
But I I do think that the internet is a free place to promote, you know, in a sense. If you're just posting on your feed about your art, there's no real difference between that and walking into a room and playing a song. You know, really conceptually, it's not really any different. If you're allowed to say something in a place, then you're allowed to say something, and no one should be charged for that. And it's my first time realizing that I basically just created a little Instagram feed, but in person. Um, um, and you know, because you only get a chance to play like two or three songs or perform one or two writing pieces,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not an open mic because I do curate it. I do try to bring artists together that work together who have a certain standard of talent and stuff. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I think that the lack of intimate spaces, I think so far Sounds does a good job of it. And there's a few other organizations that create intimate spaces. But just that, it's like we really all live inside I mean, especially now more than ever, we can sit inside our homes endlessly on the internet and feel connected. And
Hmm.
I don't think that's necessarily good for the human soul. I do think that we need that intimate, uh, in-person interaction. So therefore, Treehouse,
For
yeah.
sure. Did Treehouse hinder your abilities to create at all, or is it more of just you bringing people together?
Um, it doesn't take. It never took that much effort. I mean, I do have to keep the community alive in some sense. But it's one day a month. And
Hmm.
I really got the system down. I never overcomplicate it. So, it really just took, one day a month. I mean, I create on so many other things, in those years, but I think with music, I did it for so long that I felt like I just needed a second to look around. It's almost like I need to take a walk, but I took a long walk a few years. Um,
Yeah,
but and just take in what other people are making and seeing where music was going, you know.
for sure. So when I first found you, I found you on TikTok through your husband's
Yeah.
promotion about your music. I thought that was really funny and just the whole story. I mean, it seems like you flew to Paris, you hired producers, rented a studio, hired musicians, you did all this crazy stuff. And at first, I didn't really think much about it because I was just starting the podcast. But I thought, hey, you'd be amazing to interview. So, what's the story behind your first album?
Well, it's I would say that it sounds ridiculous. It
A
sounds
little
like we're
bit.
idiots, to be honest. But I'll tell you how it actually happened. I mean, not that he was lying. There's no lies in that video, but um, I had been wanting to make this EP, a set of 5 or 6 songs, just to start off the Skandra project for a while, for years, for
Yeah.
3 years, and last year we had savings and we thought, do we want to buy a house? Do we want to invest it? What do we want to do? And we were both mutually talking about our own artistic endeavors. And he's like, all right, well, you
Yeah.
first. We're gonna take this and you're first, and we're gonna go in the studio and let's just do this. And obviously, I have friends. Travis, my producer, is my friend. The mixer is my friend. The people who made the music video in Paris are my friends. So we did pay everyone. We had to pay. I mean, they're all professionals. They're all very hardworking, like high end at their
Sure.
crafts. Travis is in his resume is insane, and Mike's resume is insane. So they gave us good rates, but it was definitely an investment. It was a lot of money. So we went in the studio. We did these 6 songs and um, got them mixed, and that's great. And what happened was we were in Paris. We spent half our time there because Alon, my husband, is from Paris, and our friends run a
Mm.
creative agency out there, and they fell in love with Rivers when they heard the demo, and they said like let's make a music video while you're out here. So I actually, funny enough, made the Rivers music video before I finished the song in the studio. Um, yeah,
Interesting.
which was real fun because thankfully I'm really good at um, recording vocals exactly the same each time. So when I'm singing in the video, it had to match up with the end vocal, what the vocals ended up being.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we had 1 month left in Paris last year, and they threw it together. I mean, they threw a whole crew together. It was such a lovely group of people,
Wow.
and we paid some good money because we wanted a really good looking music video. It wasn't
Yeah, and the visuals are just stunning, just absolutely well
Yeah,
done.
they're a great Supervision is a creative agency. They're really wonderful group. And so yeah, so that all came together. I was gonna release all of this in January and then March, and then the pandemic hit. So I said this is probably not what anyone cares about at the moment. Um,
Hmm.
and then I said I'd wait. And then as time went on, I was like, fuck it. I just want to get this music into the world. So I'm gonna start self-releasing it. And then I was about to release Rivers and was like, okay, well, we invested so much in this music video and this EP, and like, I just want this to matter. And my goal, when Alon had the proposition for this TikTok video, I was like, cool, I hope it would get like, 10,000 streams and 10,000 views on the music video. Like, I would be on cloud nine if that happened. I woke up to 60,000 streams the first day and 60,000 on the music video. And it just, I mean, within a week or whatever, it hit a million. And uh, I had every record label on earth. I mean, maybe not every single one, but email me, and I cried and I screamed and I couldn't believe it.
And that's so
Yeah.
exciting. So what's going on for you next? I mean, what do you have planned? I know we're in a pandemic and it's hard to do stuff, but where do you see yourself taking off?
Well, it's a good question. I'm still figuring it out. I'm in talks with
Yeah.
people and doing things and figuring out the best route. Like you said, we're in mid a pandemic, so it's not, I'm such a people gatherer type of person. I love gathering people together to experience things, especially with music. So, um, I've got to be patient on that end. But I think right now I just went into the studio for 9 or 10 days straight with Travis and Mike, and
Hmm.
we did some really good demo writing for the next set of songs. I do have 3 songs from the last EP that I haven't released. I directed a music video a week and a half ago, an all-female crew, a skeleton crew. It was very small, all very socially distanced and everything.
Yeah.
But uh, but we filmed a video, and that was fun. And so I might release that independently soon. We have a fun thing in the works that we're launching this Friday for our next set of marketing actions. We'll see how that goes. Um, so
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of just playing with everything that has been presented to us because not quite sure. Usually I know. Usually I could tell you my 5-year
Hmm.
plan, but right now everything is so new and up in the air that I haven't really quite made a decision on anything yet. So good things are
Yeah.
to come for sure.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see where you're gonna go in life, and I'm super excited that I'm able to follow you now that I've discovered you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Right on. Do you have any last closing thoughts? And of course, anything you want to shout out?
Oh man, should have prepared for that. I mean, keep making art, just keep making things no matter what, and don't ever stop. And persistence is the key to everything, I promise. And I think I always like to really point out that art really does matter. I think in times like these, it's easy to
Mm,
forget um, that with so much going on in the world, that art, no matter what it is, actually helps people and is therapeutic and does matter. So that would be my philosophy in life. But shouting out, I just want to shout out to everyone who listened to my songs and help us accomplish our goal and beyond because those are the people that changed not only my life but quite a few other people's lives, and it's one of the most beautiful testaments to humanity and people actually caring about other people that they don't even know and believing in a dream.
yeah.
And I just think that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen, especially that it happened to me. It's just awesome. So I want to thank those people.
Right on. For those who have not heard your EP, where could they find this EP?
If you search Skandra on any streaming platform, you will find 3 songs. There are rivers, ashes, and tangerines, and you're welcome to listen to them.
Right on. I mean, thank you once again for taking the time to chat with me.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted on what is to come, and I will talk
Okay,
to you
beautiful.
later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. All right, I mean, thank you just so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so I know your name is Joseph Javier. Do you go by Joseph? I mean, what do you go by? You go by JJ?
I go by a lot of nicknames, depends on who I'm meeting, and honestly, what my mood is, especially if it's a first encounter, I'll tell people to call me Joe, JJ, Jay, just Joseph even. I like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
switch it up.
right on. And as you can tell, my name is Spencer. Pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure to meet you as well.
Right on. So the first thing I really just ask my guests is, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Joseph Javier, and I'm calling from South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, how are you doing with that? Didn't you just recently move?
Yes, I lived in the Chicago suburbs for the entirety of my lifetime, up until a couple months ago, and we just moved here, and it's been pretty neat.
Right on. So what's the elevator pitch of yourself? Just give me a rundown of who you are.
Who I am, um, it's not necessarily an easy question to answer. I mean,
Yeah?
I like to market myself a number of ways, because I like doing a lot of things, right? So, I'm a content creator. That's what most people know me as, especially with music. But I'm also a professional photographer, and I do MMA. I've been doing that for the last 10 years, 11 years,
Yeah.
and I'm on my way to starting my own clothing business. I do a lot of fashion stuff, and yeah, I mean, not one straightforward answer.
No, that's awesome that you just have this drive to create. Have you always been this way?
Yeah, it started when I just watched YouTube videos, especially from Ryan Higa to Casey Neistat. I always thought it was cool to express yourself, especially in a visual aesthetic manner.
Yeah.
Um, and I thought, why not do that myself?
Yeah. So what was that like first step that you really took from just watching YouTube? Was it your music stuff or was it the fashion, photography?
It all came down like a line. My sister is what really got me into fashion. Photography, like I said, it goes hand in hand with videography. I'm just into visual arts overall. Content creation, mostly, I had no interest in actually doing it myself. I've always appreciated the art. But I just got bored one day,
Yeah.
and then all of that MMA. It all just came along just like a weird random path that I was thrown on, really. It
Yeah, yeah.
wasn't, yeah.
How's the transition from Chicago now to South Carolina? I mean, are you still keeping up with your martial arts?
It's a bit hard with COVID,
Yeah,
especially, and my mom's a bit worried, because
of
moms
course.
worry. And I still train at home, at least an hour a day, but I have not been able to go to any gyms or academies as of lately.
Yeah, yeah. Totally understand. Just to talk about kind of the content creating and just you wanting to create. I know you're also a chef, so you're always kind of just doing something
Yes,
to
there's
be
that too.
busy.
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see yourself just creating and trying to help people?
Ultimately, that's all I really want to do, whether it be in an entertaining format. I've experienced things in my life that many people go through. Like, I deal with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and I it was through content creation and having fun, trying to be funny, like laughing or just having someone to relate to. I feel like that's how I wanted to help people with my content, especially just by sharing what I love doing and what has helped me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, I totally understand. I mean, you even yourself just you've gotten a really large following just from doing what you love.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, what was that like?
It
Were you
also,
trying to be really big or did it just happen?
um, one day, um, almost a year ago, or I'd say about a year ago, I just decided, you know what? I was not a fan of TikTok at first, let me say that. I was never a
Yeah.
fan. I always thought it was super cringy, all these kids singing these songs at school. But one day, I was so bored, out of my mind, and I decided, you know what? Let's try and do something here. So I downloaded TikTok and I started posting every single day. And it was like 6 times a day, just having fun with it, trying to get to know what kind of content I wanted to make,
Yeah.
what kind of like persona I was trying to portray online. And yeah, it was purely out of boredom, but down the line, ended up figuring out what I actually wanted to do with it. Like I said, with helping people, just like making people laugh or just giving people someone to relate to.
Yeah. Right on. And I mean, what's it like being at your age and just kind of getting this large following? Would you say it's really exhausting or just really liberating for you to have a platform to express yourself?
It's a bit of both, or no, it's a lot of both. It's really nice that I get to express myself that way, because me being the type of person that I am, I'm a bit introverted at times, and so I find it hard to express myself to even my friends, and I keep most of my thoughts to myself. But with content creation, it allows me to express myself in a manner in which it's sort of like indirect because I'm just
Hmm.
posting online, but I am not doing it specifically to anybody else. Um, and it can get exhausting sometimes, however,
For
because
sure.
there is money involved, and sometimes when your views don't meet a certain stat, then that money's lost. Or sometimes you just get really burnt out and you don't know what kind of content to make. You kind of feel uninspired at times, and it gets a bit crazy. But overall, I'd say it's still super fun.
Yeah, yeah. I know this is like a really tough question to ask, especially now, and we're actually like the both we're like the same age, and we're both really young. I mean, where do you see your life taking off, and what do you have going for you? Do you have any big goals or plans for life?
So starts off with college because,
Yeah,
that's what the
yeah,
parents want for really anybody nowadays, just for ch their child to succeed. And the best way to do that, or the safest way to do that, is through college. So my personal plan is to major in business and econ, and then
yeah.
do a 2 week coding boot camp to have that background
Hmm.
and then get into tech business. But I want all of that as my safety net because what I actually want to do, and there's a bit of things that I want to do and make profit off of. I'm really into midterm, long-term investing, earn money off of that. But I also want to travel with my freelance photography and maybe even do some wedding photography or just strictly portrait or even just travel photography. If it's photography, I'll do it. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I even want to invest in opening up my own cafe or even a restaurant, even, and perhaps invest in uh, setting up a jujitsu studio, Brazilian jiu-jitsu studio.
Wow, that seems like you have a lot
I have a
you're trying to
lot, but I
accomplish.
have a plan, and that's what matters.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of go back on photography, we didn't really. I kind of just want to talk about that more. Like, once again, how did you get into it, and what's the drive? And yeah.
Um, with Casey Neistat especially, I saw one of his videos with Peter McKinnon. And if you don't know who he is, he's also a YouTuber, but he's mainly he's a photography YouTuber. And his distinct style is what really got me because I
Mm,
just thought it was so cool, like the way he edited photos, manipulated light and colors to make a really well taken photo, but make it even better. And I just thought that
mm.
was the coolest thing ever. I don't know why. And my dad just happened to buy a new camera at the time that I was watching those kinds of videos. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do that too. Because why not?
Yeah, yeah. Right on. I know it's like super quick, and it's just to get an idea of who you are and just to spread people's direction in life. Do you have any last minute thoughts and anything you want to shout out?
Shout out. My Instagram, Snapchat are both it's Joseph Javier, ITSJOSEPH JAVIER. Um, last things I want to say. Kids, don't worry too much. Um, you have a whole life ahead of you, and as long as you're having fun, but you also have a steady plan, no need to stress so much. And I especially stay in school. School's important. I don't know why I'm talking like I'm 40 years old. Um, yeah, otherwise, yeah, that's about it, I would say. I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, I mean, thank you once again for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah, for sure, of course.
Right on. I'll keep you posted for what is to come. And until then, I will talk to you later.
All right, sounds good.
Special thanks to LukRemBo and Matthew May for the music I used in today's episode. And of course, thank you Nick, Skandra, and Joseph for being on episode 16 of Milking Ardor. As I must say again, if you enjoyed Milking Ardor, please spread this to every possible person you could think of. The more people we have listening to Milking Ardor, the more amazing stories and empathy we could share with each other. Of course, if you want to be on Milking Ardor, you can reach out to me on Instagram at _Spence_R_. If you want to see exclusive content of Milking Ardor, videos, TikToks, behind the scenes, search up Milking Ardor, and it's pretty much all there. You can find it pretty easily. Thank you for keeping up with Milking Ardor. Make sure you're subscribed and you follow on whatever platform you listen to so you get notified for when new episodes are being released, as well as to hear more stories. It's been really wild recently, and I know I'm a little delayed, but here I am, and thank you. Until next time, I will see you later.